Welcome to this video about round 10 of Tata Steel 2014, and round 10 this year is the penultimate round, and it's also the round where Aronia may clinch this tournament. He's leading by 1.5 points, and with another win he could win this tournament with one round left to go. So let's start with the action with the game Van Veli against Gelfand. Yeah, here it is. And let's see. Yeah, Van Veli playing the Trompowsky. Yeah, I don't really recall him playing that before. I mean, he probably has some games with it, but it's not a main feature of his opening repertoire. And Gelfand answers with d5. Yeah, d5 is a very solid response to the tromp, and can very much be recommended, especially to classically inclined players. White really is asked, what are you going to do now? Because the Trompowsky type move would be to take on f6, give up the bishop for the knight, and after that black has the interesting choice between g takes with a more complicated game, or e takes f, which is a very solid choice, leading to very decent play for black, because he's got a quick opening of the diagonals for the bishops, and has no development problems whatsoever. And if white does not take, black is probably trying to play knight e4. So this is something that white needs to address here. He played knight d2, and after c5, black attacking the center, he took on c5. Yeah, we're already on very much unknown territory here. Almost no games available to compare this to. And as mentioned in earlier videos, the trend of getting away from explored theory is really steadying. It's not something just to be observed in a single game. It's really an obvious trend. Here we quickly see, after queen a5, black is trying to get the pawn back, and he does so really quickly. Knight f3 and knight c6. So this position is very similar to the Slav defense, but with colors reversed. White is basically playing a Slav here, but he enjoys an extra tempo, which probably is enough to equalize, but not more. He really plays now in the same spirit as in the Slav. Takes here and plays e4. This is how the comparable line with reversed colors is played as well. e5, reversed colors, bishop d6, queen e7, and this is just the same here. White develops. Yeah, this bishop e6 move, it looks a bit unnatural to play that, but black has a slight problem here. What should he play? If he wants to play the e-pawn at some point, let's say e5, for example, you have this problem. This is not playable, and for other reasons e6 is not playable. I mean, it's not as bad as the other line, but this does not look very appealing. This kind of structure.
Check.
Yeah, black has got so many weak pawns. Don't want that. It's a bit difficult to develop the bishop on this diagonal, so he probably was thinking about bishop h6 at some point anyway, and therefore it does not really it's not really necessary to move the e-pawn. So bishop e6, and this bishop to h6. I think this is a decent development scheme for black. And a general problem here in this position for white is where to put the king. It's especially with the bishop here on h6, long castles, I don't know. It does not look so attractive. And well, short castles, you're castling right into the g file. At the end he decided for short castles, and it's not a problem. I mean, white is not suffering from king safety issues. Knight e5, and he captured there. Knight e4. Yeah, I think this position should be about equal. I mean, I personally, because I'm simply well-known bishop bishop fan, I'd like to play with the two bishops especially. I mean, who doesn't, but I really have a soft spot for that, so I just prefer black here. But it's not a position where white should be in big trouble. He's got a good knight on d4 and centralized pieces, so it's about equal, I guess. Bishop d5, and check. We have this further trade. Rook d1. This is all very logical. Yeah, seeking to improve the bishop, or maybe relocate it even to b6. Yeah, there's not much going on, but in the next couple of moves, I think that Van Velde is slowly allowing his position to deteriorate. He played g3. Okay. Yeah, black wants to use the h-pawn as a battering ram. Knight e2, but and yet he had to calculate the next line, bishop d2. This is a bit of a strange move because it's a self-pin. It's not a bad one, not a bad move, but it's somewhat strange to put the bishop into the self-pin. There was no alternative, however, because after h5 he had to calculate that. Black has no other move. He can take here, check. But the problem is that now, where is this bishop going? I mean, there's also h5 hanging, and yeah, after this, it's there are more things coming up that are problematic. So this was really a mandatory move, and of course planned beforehand. Queen to h4, yeah, activating the queen. And queen e5. Yeah, we see that the bishop is somewhat more powerful than the knight, but it's not serious really. Yeah, around here it starts to get a bit strange. I think you should probably just centralize and try to trade off more pieces. The idea rook e4, or let's say rook e4, is connected with a very ambitious idea. He wants to put pressure on the h-pawn, which is in a way understandable, but it does not really materialize to anything great. Black just covers this from the side, and what is exactly happening here? White cannot increase the pressure on h5. Yeah, and rook f1 is intending the next move, and I don't really like that. The next move. Black played bishop to h6, away from h6, recognizing that the bishop is not doing much there, and he wants to relocate it on c5. And the next move, I'm really amazed that this is played. Van Velde played f4 here, which seems terribly weakening to me, especially considering that this bishop is on the way to c5. I understand that he wanted to get active play with little time on the clock, but I don't really like that decision. Maybe it's not a decisive mistake, probably, but White will get in trouble with the weakened king. Queen needed to move. Of course, short term you gain something. The queen is not great on h6, but it can be activated via h7. We'll see that quickly. Bishop first to the diagonal. Yeah, this was all necessary. c4, however, sorry, I was a bit too quick. c4, however, is a mistake. He should have gotten the queen back into the game, helping in defense. But note that this rook is cut off. I mean, f4 is really a strange move. And here black has multiple ideas. He can even try to get the queen back into the play on d6, for example, and also getting it out of this rook's x-ray. Yeah, like here or this one. Here, White is really weakened. This position does not feel very comfortable. He played, as already shown, because I was a bit too quick, c4. But after rook d1, it gets very tricky, because black starts an immediate attack on the king. Played c5, and black just retreated. And the main problem we see now.
Check.
Okay, this was too quick. We see now that black is playing with this idea, and for example, if he plays a slow move, let's say king here, black goes to g6 and threatens this idea, and White is playing without a rook. This is the problem.
Check. Check. Check.
Yeah, this is nothing that White can really survive. Black wins quickly. Yeah, the position after rook d1 is already not defensible anymore. He tried rook takes h5,
check,
and after the capture played king g2, because the queen is obviously attacked and at the same time the rook is attacked. But after queen g6,
check,
we see that black is now invading and winning with a direct kingside attack.
Check.
Yeah, the white king is pushed forward.
Check.
Yeah, and after this check, probably influenced by time travel, they went this far. After this check, rook g5 is the only move, after which
checkmate.
Queen h8 is a nice checkmate. We see all white's pieces really misplaced on this side of the board. I really don't think that f4 was such a fortunate idea. I think around here, and also rook to h4, probably in this type of position, white should just play some solid stuff and maybe try to simplify the position a bit. Rook d1, knight back to b3, exchange a pair of rooks, something like that. It's not really leading too much, but it should keep the game around level. And this means that Gelfand has won a game. He really has a rotten tournament, but at least he's on the scoreboard with a win now. Alright, the next game. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have Hare Krishna against Wesley So. This I will do rather quickly. And you probably have a sneaky suspicion here. The Berlin. Do we get the endgame? Yes, we get the endgame. And this kind of opening after the queen trade is one of those openings that I really where I really understand the motivation behind black playing this opening, because it's a very solid and reliable defense, and sometimes you can even win games with it if white is over ambitious or tries to do something that is not really well thought out. However, as a commentator, this is just not a very nice opening to look at, because it all depends on very on a level of detail that is very hard to master if you just analyze it briefly to present in a video. There are some games like this one. I can go through it rather quickly. Yeah? All fairly logical. Black trying to secure against the g4 move. Bishop e7. Yeah, knight e2. This is a useful motif. Sometimes knight d4 is possible. Sometimes knight f4 is an idea. Knight h4. We have one pair of knights traded. Bishop f4 and bishop back to e7. To it's best to relocate it. On h4, it's not really doing much. And now after knight d4 and g5. White retreated, and rook h6. Yeah, this all looks completely normal. It's been seen many times, this type of setup for black. h5, g5, rook h6, strengthening this blockade on the e6 square. And white has absolutely, at least in my book, absolutely no idea to strengthen the position. Black simply plays bishop d7 and maybe rook d8. Always remember that you cannot castle long here. Sometimes in the good old days when chess usually was analyzed on a real board, a wooden board with pieces on it, and nobody was telling you, this is an illegal move. I can tell you that very often you did analyze stuff that really was against the rules, because you forgot that, okay, well, that was castling, right? Okay. Okay, in this position, white played e6, and this is practically identical with conceding the draw in this position. Black took here, bishop c7. Those two are traded, and black has no real possibility to keep the e6 bishop. If he would be able to keep it, then black even is playing for something. A move like bishop b7 can be risky because it hampers the coordination a bit. He just played rook c8, and after the trade here, the position is completely equal. Black has no problems whatsoever, and after
check,
some more trades,
check, check,
both players
check,
around here agreed to a draw after a perpetual here with the king and the rook. Yeah, this is sort of a nothing game. It's the type of game that is simply a necessary part in the daily life of a chess professional. You sometimes just need to play a solid game as black, and the Berlin is a good choice for that. White has shown absolutely nothing here. It's very difficult for me, not being an expert on 1e4 even, to point out where white could have improved. And the ugly truth is that white at the moment has absolutely nothing against the Berlin. It's still this problem that has been apparent for a number of years now, that this endgame is not really netting anything, and white is shifting his attention towards slower moves like 2d3 and so on, but it's not really leading to much as well. Alright, so a rather uneventful draw. And let's go to the next game, Giri against Kayakin. In this game, we see another Catalan, and the Catalan nowadays really has become White's main search for an advantage against the Queen's Gambit type of setups. You see this really more often than the classical Queen's Gambit. I'm not quite sure why that is. I mean, the Queen's Gambit, of course, is also very difficult to get anything as white, but the Catalan recently is also quite solid for black. Kayakin, as we have seen earlier in the tournament, he always plays this absolute most classical variation with castles and then capturing. And here, after those moves, White has the principal choice between taking on c4 and a4. Giri is usually playing a4, and he's doing that again in this game. Bishop d7. Yeah, all this has been seen before, even in this tournament. A5, also a good move. Black is intending to fix this weak b4 square and maybe use a knight on it. Here we go. Yeah, queen d3 is a slightly strange move, but the queen probably has to move away anyway, and he's doing that now. Knight is coming to b4 also anyway, so it does not really matter that you move the queen 2 times. What White is trying to accomplish is e4 after all, and this is what Black tries to prevent. He's playing knight d5, and by challenging the c3 knight, Black is gaining some control over e4, yeah, as e4 is just blundering it away. And after knight d5, White played bishop to d2. Yeah, I don't think White is necessarily afraid of the double pawn on f4, but he just wanted to, I think, keep a bit more pieces on the board and try to improve the position with rook e1, for example, and then e4. This is a possible idea. Black just took on c3, slightly surprising, but after the capture and bishop e4, we see that Black has very decent piece control over the center. It's tricky for White to get in e4 or anything substantial in the center. Right now, of course, the queen is attacked, so it moved away. And now queen d5. We see that this queen is even covering this crucial c4 square. And Black can prepare various pawn breaks. He can prepare c5 at the right moment or b5. In the game, we see that after rook e1 and after the trade, Black is playing rook b8, covering b7, but also intending to play b5. And we see that rather quickly, rook b1. Knight e4 centralized the knight, and after knight f4, okay, the queen needs to go. But still, it's not apparent how White is going to make any headway here. Black's pieces are okay. He doesn't have any substantial long-term weakness. And after the trade, he went for this mentioned break with b5. This is a very straightforward way to play, trying to get your rooks active, and after this capture, basically forced, I guess it's hard not to capture. After the capture, Black has this a pawn, and White needs to be a bit cautious here. He's not in trouble, but if he ignores this passer, it can be tricky. c4. Giri is immediately trying to kill the game off, and in fact this happens. Black takes. It's not really have any big alternative to that. After the trades here, we have come to a completely symmetrical position. That after queen d6, queen d8, and some more moves, it does not really matter much after h3. Exactly here they agreed to a draw. Yeah, not a very exciting game, but probably yeah, in some way understandable. The tournament already has been rather long, and both players don't really have a realistic chance anymore to fight for first place. Aronian is not going to lose his last 2 games. It's very unlikely. So this game was played with caution in mind, I guess, and caution, or let's say boredom in a way we got. So not very spectacular chess here. Let's go to the next game. Caruana against Naidic. Yeah, Caruana is having a so-so tournament. Not terrible, not great. While Naidic is having probably the worst event ever. At least in recent years, what I could remember. He's he's in last place and only has managed a couple of draws. So let's see what happens here. Caruana is playing knight f3 g3. He's done that recently quite often, and following the already mentioned trend of going away from mainline openings. And again, in this game, we quickly reach a non-theoretical position, a position that is completely unexplored. g6 and c4. Yeah, this is a very understandable move. White needs to fight for the center at one point. He cannot avoid this all the time with castles and slow moves. At one point, c4 is necessary to attack the center. Yeah, of course, you can play stuff like d3, knight d2, king's Indian attack style, but it does not really lead to an advantage. While c4 is a move that really does fight for something. For example, if black now supports the center, white has b3 and bishop b2, leading to a slightly more comfortable game for white. It's not much, but it's slightly more comfortable for white. And yeah, if black plays a move like d4, a bit ambitious, that's b4. Interesting play. Bishop b2 will pressurize the d4 pawn. So what should black do? There's also bishop g7, of course. And after that, we get to an English type of position that can also transpose to a Grünfeld with b4. With d4, not b4, d4, of course. So very interesting transposition and leading to fighting games. Black, however, played something entirely different. He took on c4, which is not very common, but of course, why not? You do that all the time in the Grünfeld, and this time it's also interesting. If white goes for a check, it's interesting. Black has more than one possible reply. Even that one is quite decent. Bishop g7, I guess so. And knight b6, knight c6 to come. It's one possibility, but Naidic played it differently. Played knight a3, which is not bad at all, of course. It intends to get the Naidic. Caruana. Caruana is white. Caruana played knight a3 to get the pawn back, and he did this quickly. c5, getting some control over d4. And this is answered, interestingly enough, by knight f to e5, even before castling. And with this move, we are on unknown territory. This never has been played before. It's a slightly unconventional move. The most normal would be castling here, obviously. But after that, black plays knight c6 and gets some influence over the e5 square. And how is white going to make any progress here? You cannot play d4. Black is covering that reliably. And well, if you go knight e5 in this type of position, you only exchange pieces, and this generally helps the defender. Caruana certainly wanted to win this game, playing against a completely out of shape knightage. So he wanted to, I guess, get a more complicated position and went for knight fe5. This is also hampering black's development a bit, as the natural move knight c6 is not working. And yeah, well, if you need to do something like knight d7, you're blocking your bishop on c8. So it's an interesting try to pose some problems for black. I think knightage is playing it fine. He just castles and goes for knight d5. This is increasing some pressure on e5. And of course, this is not a very stable piece here. It's not supported by a pawn. And rather quickly we see that e6 was necessary, make the knight more secure on d5. And yeah, this is what I was trying to say. Yeah, attacking the knight. And here, yeah, white has no choice. He needs to support it and plays f4. Yeah, very interesting position, and completely new. You hardly ever see a combination of c4 traded against the d pawn and then f4 in the English opening. I mean, I have played this types of positions for ages, and you really never see the f pawn used. But it's of course interesting. It keeps lots of control over e5, and I think for a long while white has a completely fine position. Knight d7 and bishop d2. Yeah, if black now takes on e5, white of course will recapture. And well, black cannot not win a pawn here. He can take here, but right after that, it's very risky, considering that e4 will dislodge the knight, and then bishop c3 will come on the long diagonal. This is a position where even the computer gives white substantial compensation, and it's certainly not seeing a direct mating attack. This is too risky, and knightage didn't go for that. He's not the kind of player to not accept a challenge. He usually does that, but here it seemed too risky even for him. He played b6, completing his development, and now white retreated. He cannot keep it there on the long run. Yeah, e4, gaining space in the center, and black going to b4. Yeah, going for the most active square, not retreating. Yeah, what happens if white captures the pawn? Is this good? Yeah, the problem is that at the end, after a move like knight c5, this is weak, and both bishops now are excellently placed. White will be on the defensive really quickly here, like for example rook fd1, rook a8, attacking here. And this already is a problem. How to defend that? If white plays a move like queen a3 to cover d3, there's still the capture, because this is such an unstable piece. Black has enormous pressure. This is why white didn't take. He just played bishop c3, which is just stronger. You want to challenge the strong g7 bishop. Black played b5, attacking the knight, and we have the trade.
Check.
And reach this position. Yeah, it's a very unclear and complicated position now. And queen d6. Yeah, let's have a look at that. Yeah, white has some weaknesses. d4 and d3 is weak. Black's camp, there is c5 as a weakness. It probably should be around equal, but it's not the equal type of game that leads to nothing. It's dynamically equal. Lots of things happening. Played knight b3, trying to attack the weakness, and this is answered very directly by knightage. He's playing rook c8, preparing to advance with c4. And this is what later happens. The rook c1, knight e7, e5, yeah, queen away,
check,
the straight, and king h1. You cannot stay in this long diagonal all the time. After all that, knightage plays knight d5, and now c4. Yeah, this phase of the game is really complicated. You could analyze it much deeper if you want. It's probably about equal. There's no reason why one side should have an advantage. At first you might think that after something like this, the capture here, that black has the worst pawn structure. This is true. Those 3 pawns are isolated, but pawn structure is just one feature of the position. If you look at this, after knight here, knight c5, we see that black has some assets as well. He's got a good bishop on b7, and first of all, those 2 knights are very strong, especially considering that knight d3 is going to be the next improvement in black's position. Caruana now went for rook c2. Rook c4 is unfortunately answered by knight e4, and this leads to big trouble, something like that. This one, of course. Screwed up my notes here. Just the fork, of course. I was just thinking, why not the fork? And the fork is what I have in my text. Yeah, this is why white cannot really take on c4. In the game, he played rook c2, so covering this pawn, and knight d3. Yeah, this is a very tricky position to play, especially with little time on the clock. Caruana played b3. This is quite an obvious move, attacking the strong c4 pawn, but it's also a somewhat risky move because of the reply that knight is playing, and he's playing the sharpest move, knight to b2, which looks a bit wacky at first. What is black doing on b2? Well, the simple idea is, of course, that the capture is answered by the fork. This is rather easy to see, but the question that you need to ask yourself, well, what is this knight doing on b2? Isn't it just stranded? It's not attacking anything. Well, it's that's true, but still, the main point is that this knight move was paving the way for the c pawn after knight e5. Black went c3, and that is a strong pawn on c3 that white needs to be cautious about. Okay, moved the queen away. It was attacked. And now rook to d8. Yeah, and now I guess with limited time, I don't trust the clocks here that are used by ICC. They seem weird sometimes, especially if you look at them in the flow of the game. Sometimes one side gains a couple of minutes, so there must have been some relay issues. It's very difficult to judge how much time there was left. But we're on move 32. I guess maybe Caruana didn't have so much time left. Why am I talking about the time so much? Because now white is basically blundering the game away with a one mover. And not that it is completely easy after that, but it's just one move that spoils the entire position for white. If he plays a good move here, it's probably just about equal. The computer suggests the somewhat strange looking move queen g1. The idea is probably to get out of the f file. After that, there are lines that in fact lead to an equal position. One being knight takes f4, very aggressive move. That, however, leads to trades. White takes, black takes, oops, here.
Check.
Yeah, or queen takes. Also interesting. Yeah, and now white can go for counterplay with the check. And to retreat, to try to get the c-pawn. Yeah, this type of position is very complicated and unclear. But it is what white should have tried. Queen g1 is not a very intuitive move, though. However, what he did, I mean, rook e1 is the move that he played. That really instantly loses. That much is clear, and it loses due to knight takes f4, the same move that we saw earlier. White has no big choice. He needs to take it. After that, the rook takes on d4, and it's not difficult to see in that white is in huge trouble here. f4 is just terminally weak, and white is not able to defend against that. And in addition, there's also the weak king, of course. He played the rook takes c3, and this was answered by 91. Always funny to see a knight journey all the way to the opponent's back rank. Don't have that too often with many pieces on the board. Yeah, and the knight is also, of course, nearing the always critical f2 square.
Check.
Yeah, rook c7 check, kind of a shocking move. It's a protected square on c7, and well, here black actually he could have taken. It's not the best move, but he could have taken. After this, black is in fact in trouble here. How does he cover that? I guess he doesn't. Yeah, well, it's not so important, because after rook c7,
check,
knight had just played king g8 and ignored all that. And of course, before white can take anywhere, he needs to take care of the queen. It is attacked, and of course you cannot take this.
Check
is a mate in 2. Yeah, he played the queen to c2, and after that, black just took on f4, and yeah, what is white supposed to do now? It's really an ugly position. If he takes here, for example,
check,
we again have a quick
checkmate.
Yeah, what he did is he played Caruana played rook takes b7, and this now leads to a really nice finish.
Check.
Knight f2 check. Yeah, only move.
Check.
Knight h3 double check. So only king h1 necessary. Yeah, it is completely forced.
Check.
A double check. King h1 necessary. Yeah, now note that the
check.
Typical smothered
Check.
mate is still covered by the queen, but the motif is still used. If you want, you can look at this position and trade it as a little puzzle, black to move and win. I'll only give you a couple of seconds because it's not so difficult. Okay, going to show it. The move that was played in the game is rook f1 check, and now white resigns due to a coming mate. Rook takes,
check,
bishop takes, and then
checkmate.
Queen g1 mate. Very nice checkmate, and well, it's a win for Knightage finally. After having suffered in so many games, he won a nice game and a nice finish at the end here against very strong Fabiano Caruana. Yeah, I guess Caruana just lost the thread here in a complicated position with little time on the clock around here. Rook e1 was just giving it away. I guess there was some time issue involved, because knight takes f4 it's not a very difficult reply, and should be easily spotted by Caruana. All right, so next game, what do we have here? We have also Rapport against Nakamura, and well, judging by the performance so far in the tournament, we are almost guaranteed to have a somewhat strange or complicated game coming up, because Rapport is playing those really, sometimes even wacky openings, while Nakamura is not exactly a saint in this part of the game as well. I mean, what I'm trying to say is he also likes to play creative chess if possible. So let's see what we get. Knight f3, c5, b3. Yeah, okay. Well, we're already away from mainstream theory. e3. Yeah, this d6 needs some explanation. This it looks like a bit of a little move. Yeah, why only d6? Of course, black has other setups, but d6 has a very positionally well-founded idea. Black wants to play e5, and this type of setup, let's say he plays e3 here. e5.
Check.
I can put this. If white now is not playing bishop b5, just playing, let's say, normal moves. Yeah, well, here there's even e4, sending the knight back, which is another point, of course. In general, what black is trying to do is to build up a wall in the center that also kills this bishop. It's only biting on granite from b2, and therefore d6 is a very decent and strategically a well-founded idea.
Check.
Bishop b5 is played, trying to speed up development, and if possible also to build up a pin after knight c6 played in the game. This is of course a pin. Yeah, note that white would really like to play d4 here, attacking the center, but
check.
There's an obvious drawback. So d4 is not particularly well timed. He played knight c3. Bit of a strange move, because, well, after bishop b2, and this will be played later, the knight is not very effectively placed on c3. It just blocks the long diagonal. However, it has a very concrete idea. He wants to, I guess, protect this bishop to get d4 back into the mix. This is what Nakamura played. He needs to get ahead with development, and Rapport answered d4. As I already mentioned, this was the idea behind knight c3. Yeah, it's already very concrete here. White is just threatening to take on e5 and win the all-important e5 pawn. Yeah, black really only has one reply. It is getting forced here. Black plays e4. The most logical move, attacking the knight, and okay, the knight does not really have such a great square at the moment. In addition, white has a much more attractive option, and this is what Rapport is playing. He's playing d5 using this pin and forcing basically to play a6. And now he retreated to f1. Yeah, all very curious, but what else? Couldn't go to e2, as now black is attacking the e2 bishop and white loses a piece. You needed to go all the way back, but this is certainly what he intended, because after knight e7 and now knight d2, we have a very interesting struggle in the center where those two pawns are a bit exposed. d5 is not really well supported, and the same applies also for e4. This pawn also has only insufficient cover. There's no natural pawn move to cover it, like f5 or like c4. So it's a piece struggle for the center. Bishop f5, covering the pawn. And now bishop b2. Yeah, note that if black takes on d5, he could have done that, theoretically speaking. That this kind of trade in the center probably tends to favor white, because he's a bit quicker in development with bishop b2, also putting pressure on the g7 pawn. So it's slightly better for white. This is why bishop f5 was played. Bishop to b2. And now Nakamura played b5. An ambitious move. Again, you could check the trade. But here white has the interesting reply. Knight takes e4. Using this somewhat unreliable center. Black, after taking here, is worse after queen d5. Or if you take here, this is also not great. So taking on d5 is not really good. b5 is just stronger. This gains space on the queen side and intends to play b4 at the right moment to really drive the c3 knight away and then win the d5 pawn. Yeah, white responded with h3. This is two ideas, covering g4 and preparing g4, of course. g4, bishop g2 to put more pressure on the e4 pawn. It's very logical move, in fact. Yeah, h5, just preventing that. And here white now initiated a very sharp sequence, and it's really debatable if this is a good decision, especially considering that he had a good alternative. At first we need to look at this move. This is what he played, and Nakamura answered with knight c8. Here in this position white played, as mentioned, a very sharp move, and this leads to interesting play. But I think here the computer has an interesting suggestion, and I actually think that this is a good move. Computer wants to play f3, which at first looked somewhat strange to me, to be honest, that white weakens his dark squares like that. But such an abstract train of thought is sometimes really bad in modern chess. You just need to calculate concretely if this has got some concrete benefit or not. And in fact, it's quite clear that it will help white in activating his position. If black takes, to start with the easy line, queen takes, just gains an important tempo. White is better developed here, and well, black cannot afford to take after e4. This bishop is almost trapped, so he will he will just retreat here. And after that, yeah, white has more than one interesting move, but bishop d3 is the easiest. Yeah, so let's say after the straight, white is ready to use the new the new square in the center that he gained with knight e4. Also, he has lots of pressure on the diagonal and to come on the fr with rook f1 or short castle. A good position for white. I think that after f3, black should defend differently. One possible move is queen e7, covering e4. But here white, if everything else fails, can go for this trades. and now play, let's say, queen d2. We see that the weakening of the dark squares is completely irrelevant, because the activity counts much more. This bishop is just very strong, and white may castle and then get more pieces into play. I think this is a very comfortable position for white. Yeah, f3 maybe was good for white. It looks very tempting if you study it a bit more detailed. Yeah, a4 is what he played, and this initiates after b4, knight e2. A very very weird sequence. Black now takes. This is what white obviously wanted to provoke, and now he played knight g3, attacking this bishop and intending to get the pawn back. And at the end, well, white will have a very nice diagonal. However, Nakamura's next move is yeah, very very surprising and maybe shocking. He just sacrificed on e3, and this is really remarkable. However, if you look at it, the position that arises after it, you rather quickly see that black definitely has some compensation, but it's still another matter to really play the move. Yeah, if white now takes, which he didn't do, but if white takes, the idea of all this is queen h4. Yeah, the pin, king f2. And now d5. And we see that black has, for the piece sacrifice, yeah, he's got 2 pawns, very strong central pawns, and he's got this pin working for him. Yeah, we probably get to a position like that, bishop e2. This is very logical, I think, because white needs to protect the g3 knight and allow the king to move. So bishop e2, bishop d6, knight df1, and knight e7, getting the knight back into the game. And this is a position that is immensely difficult to play for white. You will never ever probably get really good coordination in this game, and black just has the much easier play here, being the active side and the attacker. Still, it was what white needed to do, I think. After knight e3, he didn't capture, amazingly enough, and played queen e2. I mean, the situation after queen e2 is also super complicated, so I understand that maybe he had some idea that was not really working out, but it just seems that f takes e3 was the better move.
Check.
Yeah, black now took on c1 with check, quite an obvious move. King d1, and now he retreated the bishop. Yeah, it was hanging, and this is also the reason why capturing here after knight takes f5 wasn't really advisable. It's just much better to retreat the bishop and rely on this diagonal with this discovered checks. Yeah, here white also could have taken on c2. This is a move that needs to be checked, and one point is that e3,
Check.
while being a check, is not helping much. White just retreats, and yeah, well, this pawn will fall. It's just a useless check. What black will do is play d5, and yeah, will just attack at this position. He's got 3 pawns for a piece. And well, this is not a very good king, and it will not find a safe place quickly. That's for sure. Very complicated position. You can even consider piece sacrifices on e4 here. Yeah, it's very complicated. Yeah, he played something else. He took on e4, which is interesting. I mean, a move that threatens a checkmate in one move is always something that you need to check. Yeah, black replied with queen e7. I guess a good defense. The computer, however, does not like it. It recommends knight e7, which is again a very unhuman move to play. Getting the knight to e7, clogging up your development even further. Very tough for a human to play that. It's also, of course, based on the fact that any capture on c2 is answered by d5. So, for example, queen c2, there's d5, and yeah, well, black will get a piece. But note that at the moment, if you count it, black is a piece down. He first needs to get it back to even be to be materially ahead here, and very murky position. However, it's probably okay for black. He played, however, queen e7, which is not bad, but the other move is maybe, at least in mathematical terms, better. Now queen f3 was played, and this in fact seems to be the decisive mistake by white. If he captures on c2 with the king, there's d5 coming, and this is also the case for queen c2. Still, this is probably what he should have done, and in fact this is not so difficult to calculate, and not quite sure what he overlooked when he played queen f3. Here, this is something that white can quite easily assess. d5 is necessary. Black must try to get the piece back utilizing the pin, and this can be answered by bishop d3. After which the capture and bishop takes is almost forced, and it turns out that after this, yeah, probably black trades because the rook is also hanging. Takes, knight takes. We see that we get to an endgame type of position where white will quickly get in rook e1, and he has a very strong knight on e4 and a very strong bishop, and this is perfectly okay for white. He's not even worse here. It's just having very good compensation for the pawn. This is probably the easiest way to play, leading to rather a manageable position where you can really play some normal moves. He played queen f3, however, as mentioned, and this simply does not work. But it's not trivial at all, of course. Yeah, he took the rook. And what now? Bishop c4. This was Report's idea. He can also try some other things, but it's not really working. This is the problem. Let's say this check. This is a possibility. Takes here. Yeah, unfortunately, there's this move. Oops.
Check.
Yeah, and this crossfire, nobody wants to be in. Yeah, knight f6 is not a move that is working. You can try that, liquidating this, but again, black has defensive resources. The best one here probably being d5 to answer bishop f6 with the amazing bishop e4, and it's just not enough. It's just not enough. Queen f4. Yeah, bishop h6. Black has very good defensive resources. Yeah, in the game, bishop c4 was played. He's obviously hoping for an attack along the e file. Knight to b6.
Check.
And knight f6 check. This was the idea all along. Black takes. and bishop takes. Yeah, white now is really lots of material down. Black still has all its pieces, 2 bishops, 2 knights, 2 rooks, and so on, while white already has sacrificed a knight and a rook. But okay, he's got some attack, that's clear. Queen moved.
Check.
And rook e1 check. Yeah, black's king
Check.
is not comfortable. But after king d7, it's just, the problem is it might not look comfortable, but if you have won so much material, you don't really mind. And the all important squares are still covered, like e7, rook e7 is not possible. Yeah, white at the end decided to grab material. He took the knight on a1, bishop a1. Now Nakamura plays queen c6. This is just a very strong and good decision. He just does not care about this bishop attacking the rook. He just gives it back, because now white is almost forced to take on c6. There is no real alternative. Where are you going to go with the queen?
Check.
Takes on h8. And at first you might think, okay, why on earth did he give all the material back? The thing is, with this bad king position, you always need to be very aware of tactical tricks. And with queens off, and we can put more moves on the board, he played h4, driving the knight away, and then took here. Yeah, look at this position. If you see this position beforehand in your calculation, you just go for that. It's completely winning. Black enjoys an extra pawn. He enjoys the b pawn and the 2 bishops, and this is such an easy win that you should just go for that. Some other position where you are rook up, but where the other side has definite play, you simply should avoid. So this is a very good decision by Nakamura, and he's quickly rewarded in this game.
Check.
After a
Check.
couple of more moves. Yeah, here even report resigned the game. Yeah, for example, rook h4, bishop e7 is sort of double attacking here, and here even trapping the rook. Yeah, it wasn't really even necessary to trap even more material, as black is winning anyway with the two passes. So a very murky, complicated game that really could be analyzed much deeper. But okay, my time is limited, and this video is already getting so long. I can't believe it. Okay, so we only have one game left, and I saved the most important game for the tournament for last. This is Dominguez against Aronian. Let's go to that. The opening is no surprise in this game. Dominguez is really... Is he always playing e4? Yeah, almost all the time. I cannot really recall him not playing e4. But yeah, maybe he once in a while deviates. But it was, if you would force me to guess an opening, I would have guessed exactly this position. As Dominguez is playing the Rui all the time, Aronian is playing e5 all the time. So we get this Spanish modern mainline Rui. Castles, knight c3, d6, a3. We have seen this before a number of times. Even in this tournament, Dominguez has played this before. Knight a5, bishop a2, and bishop e6. Yeah, this is all very standard in the Rui. Black uses knight a5, gaining a move on the b3 bishop, and he frees the c pawn to move, which happens now. Yeah, I always have a slight problem when doing this kind of this type of structure. because I'm an e4, e5 player as black, and I have those positions all the time as black. And well, of course, I do know white's ideas, but still, I always tend to feel that if black manages to get in c5 and have such a nice control over the center, you shouldn't be really worse. And I don't really think black is worse here. This d3, knight c3, a3, it shouldn't really put so much pressure on black. However, the next move by Dominguez, I don't really like. It's probably a new move. I only found one other game in this position, and the approach chosen in this other game I like much more. The strong Russian Grandmaster Alexander Motylev was the 2-6-70 player, could have easily played in Viking as well. He recently played bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, and knight d5. This is, or at least not better, but this is much more to my taste. I like to play with with those strong points in the center and not weakening my queen side here. It's not it's nothing special here, but I would prefer that. I think that b4 is weakening yourself more than gaining much. Yeah, black just retreated, and after knight d5 he took on d5 and put the knight on d4, and I think really b4, it just weakened the queen side. It's not having so many positive effects. I'm not saying that white is in terrible shape, but I really don't like the idea. Okay, white took on c5.
Check.
Black captures on f3. And black, of course, needed to get the pawn back. And now we see that this type of structured transformation has changed life for the a2 bishop a lot. He's looking at this d5 pawn, and besides from that, it's not doing much. And we see that this is a constant worry now. He played rook e1, and the Aronian played knight d7. Yeah, he wants to blockade the d pawn with bishop d6, and he prepares that with knight d7. Yeah, the trade is really nothing much. Black can even go to d6. And note that this always keeps the a2 bishop out of the game. This is what white played, keeping the bishops. And now bishop to d6, blocking the pawn. And intending f5. And we see a4, f5. Yeah, in this position, I personally already would prefer black here. It looks like those pawns cover lots of useful squares. The computer is not so enthusiastic about black's position. It at best gives black equality here, but I don't really see what white's play consists of. What is exactly white doing here? You cannot really attack the center, and you're not getting anywhere with piece play. He played bishop b3, yeah, also covering a4. This wasn't really a threat, but it just gives a bit more harmony to white's position. And now Aronian played the very straightforward move e4. Yeah, and around here it's the point where you really need to look for improvements for white. While I was stating that I already like black's position, this still means that black is not better, but in a couple of moves black will be better, and it's difficult to really find the exact spot where this happened, where the advantage definitely shifted to black. I think the next move is a bit accommodating. He took on e4, maybe it's better to move the queen to, I don't know where, to h3 maybe, and not really take yourself on e4. I mean, black can play in a way that you just let the pawn stay on e4 and sort of provoke white into taking. But this is a bit different now than the game. Let me show what happened in the game. After the capture, he played c4. This was the idea, obviously. Attacking the bishop, needed to retreat. And then queen h4. And the whole point was that, yeah, well, this is a threat, this is a threat. Or queen takes. The whole point of all this is that this bishop on a2 is shut out of the game by the pawns b5 and c4. And well, after queen h4 played e5, tossing a pawn. The problem is, one problem is, if you play g3, there's also knight e5 coming. And yeah, what now? This, for example, is just terrible. The knight is immediately using the weakened light squares. Note that this bishop is just out of this world bad. And this is already gone. This is also why white tossed in a pawn. I think this is a good decision. Took with the bishop. And now g3. Yeah, now the queen is attacked, obviously, and it went to g4, offering a queen trade. Black certainly does not mind the queen trade here, because he already has a pretty good idea how he tries, how he's trying to get something in the game, and this is due to the 3 against 2 majority here. The queenside pawns are black's asset here. White traded. And now played c3, and I think c3 is a definite mistake. Here I'm pretty sure that this is the wrong one. He probably shouldn't have played this pawn move at all and try something else like rook d1, just trying to coordinate a bit more. c3 is just bad due to a concrete idea. Here we have very complicated position. Again, black can play something like rook f3. Yeah, getting this idea into the game, bishop d4. Yeah, it's still a very complicated game that is hard to assess, really. I think that chances should be around equal here. The computer is giving it as equal, but it's not the type of drawish equal. It's a big fight ahead. c3 has a big drawback, though, what Dominguez played, and the drawback is that this is happening, and this was very difficult to avoid. Now the b pawn really becomes a formidable force. Played rook e3, covering the pawn. And now black, after rook d8, bishop f5, h5, was able to push that. He waited until this rook moved away from a1, so that b3 was well timed. And this is already gone, I think. I don't think white can defend that. Just like this, the whole queen side is falling apart. He played bishop c1, bishop g5.
Check.
Yeah, we have the trade. And now knight c5, a5, and g6. This is a position that I definitely wanted to show. It's very, very funny to see that the e6 bishop is dominated here. It cannot go anywhere. It simply has no square. It can go to f7, but after the trade king g7, it is almost trapped. White, after rook e1 and king g7, decided to push the d pawn. Again, he didn't really have any great idea, because the bishop on e6 was completely useless. Yeah, and here Aronian went for the simple approach. He just took material off and prepared king f7 here. This is the preparation for king f7, gaining the pawn. After rook d8, e8, and here rook d3. He attacked the c3 pawn, and this is not defensible anymore. Okay, rook e3 you can play to defend the pawn, but well, this is just far too much. So again, a win for the Armenian #1 and world's #2, Aronian. And with this win, he has clinched the tournament victory, his fourth win in the Tata Steel tournament, or the Vaik Anseh tournament, because this Tata Steel has changed names a number of times. I think he also had won it when it was still the Chorus tournament. Yeah, an excellent performance by Aronian with another fine win as black. And with that win, he also has leveled his live ELO rating to a new record high of 2,831 or something, above 2,830. This also means that he's almost 50 points ahead of the world #3, and at the moment not quite sure who the world #3 is. Nakamura is not. He lost to too many points in this turn. Maybe it's even Kramnik. The other players didn't do much. Yeah, but Aronian has a really nice rating difference built up now with this fine performance here in Vaik. Yeah, if we look ahead, okay, there's still another round played tomorrow, but if we look ahead in the tournament calendar, we see that the next elite tournament is just around the corner, the Zurich Chess Challenge. Also Aronian will play there, also Carlsen. And after that we have the candidates around the corner, early March, where of course it counts. All those victories and strong tournaments are nice for Aronian, but he definitely wants a world championship match, and it would be a great match to see him against Carlsen. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this coverage. I'll be back, of course, tomorrow with the final round action of the Tata Steel tournament. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow.